It is beyond frustrating. That is what they all say, as ever since the information was released, any spacefaring species that could possibly reach that blue-green planet has actually approached, each of them attempting different techniques. At first, there was a fight over rights. In the skies above a place humans nowadays call Europe, two different species fought over the rights to research this particular phenomenon that they had found from this planet. The indigenous population simply came out of their dwellings and observed the battle. As they were centuries away from their own awakening, their own understanding of anything, they could simply watch and observe. To all other species in the galaxy outside of Earth itself, the previous awakening from this planet shook everyone to the core. Their ability to draw so much energy from the ether will simply astound all. And the war with their sister planet sent a shockwave across the stars, yet it's not the energy they seek. A truly distinct energy was formed that day, one that radiated across the stars as the fourth planet of their solar system was completely lost. This energy, this frequency, would normally spread out in small parts. Think of it like a drop from a faucet, 1, 2, 3 at a time. Yet the war against the two planets caused the destruction of so many personnel and an entire planet that it turned a few drops of this energy leaking out to a full tsunami, an energy burst that mixed with so many different frequencies that most computers that read it simply shorted out, while others simply shut down due to overloading. This energy had to be found, had to be researched, it had to be understood, it had to be recreated somehow. It had to fall under their control. With the fourth planet lost, the fight over the third planet actually began in the skies. After this battle, most stayed away except to examine the indigenous population. This was due to the fact that so many personnel, so many resources were lost, it was not feasible anymore. Those that continued to study this energy source quickly found out that the energy is actually radiating from the indigenous species that call themselves human. This group of non-terrestrials created basic humanoid organic drones to probe the planet, take samples, retrieve humans, and perform testing. The insectoid species that created these drones contacted the leaders of the planet and made a deal. A deal to abduct humans for testing. In return, the humans that allow this will get access to technologies beyond their current capacity. This was a deal that those not of Earth would never obey. Though they claimed they were following the spirit of this contract, they quickly began to take more humans than were agreed upon. This, of course, led to haste. It also led to different mutilations, memories of humans, as there were so many they didn't keep them all sedated, and this made things much more difficult for those who claimed themselves to be leaders of humanity. Along with this, those who were taking humans for experimentation would only hand over the most mundane of technology that was only about a decade or less ahead of the current human technologies, something they would have figured out over time anyway. Yet, by the time these leaders wanted to protest, they were in far too deep. If they allowed the human population to know what was going on, how they allowed their own population to be taken for experimentations without their knowledge, without their consent, their lives would be lost. Not lost simply by someone coming up and removing them from their meat suit, but instead their careers would be over. They would be sued. Their entire family would live in poverty, and that itself was worse than death to those who called themselves leaders. Those who were doing the experimentations did not tell the human leaders what they were truly looking for, yet they kept searching. Searching for that energy, searching for what was inside of the humans, searching for something they do not possess themselves. They're searching for what the humans call a soul. They tried every process they could think of, from using their own telepathy to enter a human's brain, which seemed easy at first. They believed humans were simple creatures. That is, until they find out one that can actually fight, that can resist. Then it can get painful if you try to go fight your way in, as the humans seem to be able to pull the telepath inside and fight them, face them on even footing, not letting them escape, and this can be painful to get away or lethal if they cannot. There's also the deep psyche of the humans. This is where the deepest fears, the most traumatic events, the most depraved desires lie. A few find these desires stimulating, to say the least, and continue to probe. This is not recommended, as one can get lost inside and not be able to leave. In many cases, the mantis-like beings dive in. However, they do not come out. They die themselves from overstimulation of either fear, which makes their heart beat so fast it tears itself apart, or lust, where their body convulses to the point where everything basically explodes in and out. Either way, they end up on the ground, dead and convulsing on the floor. For a long time, it was believed they could find the soul by probing the different orifices. Down the throat, however, became pointless, as the humans would bypass their own biological safety limiter, and they would clamp down with their jaws, breaking devices with their own single row of teeth. At first, this was seen as an amazing feat, but it did not aid in researching. A probe up the rectum was much safer. This became the primary means of inserting a probe into the body. When they did this, it seemed as though the humans were reaching out to their deity, calling out with their own soul, as it seemed as though there was a strange call to prayer that made all the research believe that they were close to the soul, as though they were afraid that the soul would be reached and they would be able to extract part of it. Larger and more invasive probes were used until the results showed nothing. And the call to prayer, as they believed, turned out to be an involuntary response to pain and or pleasure. Only a few believe they will receive results if they continue with this tactic, yet it has proven completely ineffective thus far. Probing into other orifices, or if they simply create a hole and continue to probe into the center of the human body, has received minimal results. They see the burst of energy when the body is no longer able to hold its energy anymore. This is very easily readable and trackable to a point. It doesn't fade, yet it becomes more and more difficult to track. It is though there is something blocking them when the soul reaches a certain point. Some readings say there's this type of gateway that they cannot penetrate, as they have no soul themselves, no energy deep buried within them, and they can't use their instruments to follow. Regardless of the experiment, only Earth has this phenomenon, and no others can come close to replicating it. Yet, they can see when a human projects their own soul across the universe, something that is not readily done at this point, but more and more are able to do so. Those that project don't realize at first, but they are seen. The spectrum in which this soul shows itself is not easy to see at first, but it can be seen. At first, it seems like a shadow or a shimmer off to the side, and it takes a while, but the insectoids can focus or use certain technology to see it. Those not from Earth know that the soul is there. even if some of the earth denies its existence. They know that denying the truth does not change the truth, and soon they believe the humans will be able to unlock their true potential once again. Potential that begins within. And when they do, not if, but when, the entire galaxy will shake at the power of the soul man. Soul woman, no, the soul human. Hello, everybody. This is Syntax. Thank you for joining me today on this short story. Now, before I go, I need to say that today's winner is Julius Boone. And I also need to send out some giant thank yous to the supporters of this channel, and they are MTF Guard, Guardian Sage, Brian Kemp, Prozac and Pancakes, Erica Gem, SS Demon, and Sir. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.